Support LaneSide. Get something cool.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another edition of LaneSide Reviews. As always, I'm the bearded beast, Rob Johnson, and as you can tell from this opening, I'm still injured, which means we're going to be looking at a more rev-dominant / two-handed review for some new equipment. But don't worry, Scoops and Old Guy Wayne will be back soon doing one-handed reviews going forward. So until then, why don't we go LaneSide and see how today's equipment stacks up?
Alright, so here we are in the shop looking at the Extreme Envy today. Now this ball it's going to be strong, we know this. When we threw the original Envy, it was one of the strongest, earliest, and most hookingest big ASIMs, those big solids that we'd ever thrown. So we decided rather than, just having a ball that hooked the whole lane, we were going to do something that you guys have asked us for a while. A lot of people ask us about pin up versus pin down, and they ask us why we never do one of those layouts with the pin under the fingers here and the mass bias kicked way, way far out. Well, for us two-handers, we can't exactly do that, but we can get pretty close. See, what we've done here is we've decided to go with the short pin more hook layout from PAL. So this is, you can see, we are at 2 1/4 inches by 5 1/4 inches by 1.5 PAL. Now what that does is the 2 1/4 inch pin to pap distance, that's this guy here to our pap, that's going to give us a ball that retains a little bit of tilt, but it's still going to be pretty smooth for us. That 5 1/4 inch mass bias to pap, well, that's going to give us a nice continuous motion. And lastly, that 3.5 to 1 ratio, the second number to the third number, well, that's going to give us a nice smooth transition. So this is going to give us basically what we're looking for, that pin down, high val ball that you can control those medium and longer patterns with. Now, if you look at the dual angle on this, this ends up being 45 by 2 1/4 by 45. Now, most of you who are used to regular short pins, you're used to seeing this at 90. Well, if you think about it, we wanted something that was going to use energy earlier. It was going to retain a little bit of tilt, but be smooth. That's exactly what we got here out of the dual angle. But rather than just thinking about what we've got here, why don't we take it to the lanes and see how the Extreme Envy and this layout stacks up. Alright, here we are now down on the lanes in Barrie, and as always, we're bowling on the easiest of easy house shots. And we're looking at the Extreme Envy in the hands of the bearded beast. Ooh. Now let's talk a little bit about this ball. This is the new low RG launcher core. Now, when we talked in the opening about the original Envy, that had the launcher core. That was one of the biggest, strongest ASIMs that we'd ever thrown as a solid. Now, this has that same radial flip block and the flip block on the top, taking the mass away from the center a little bit. That's allowed them to make a bit of a different body in the middle. It's much bigger. Ooh, tried to move right there. Yeah, this ball hooks a lot. As I was saying, it's got a little bit of a bigger body, and it allows it to get a little bit lower RG. Gets it to start up a little bit earlier. Spins up a little bit nicer. But it also, with those wings on the side, you see that's kind of got like some pillars and some wings, a beefy wingling. That actually kind of pre-drills a weight hole into it. So we're getting this core that really very easily spins up, very easily starts to flare. And then they took that CFI cover stock and they tweaked it a little bit so that it was a little bit cleaner and saw the mid lane a little bit more. Yeah, so this ball hooks. I mean, you take those radial, we talk about the radial puck on the bottom. It never gets drilled, so you never lose that mass. So it's always super continuous. And you can see here, I missed that one in a little bit, and yet it's how did that hit the 8-9? I have no idea. It just maybe it's this core. You can see how much it revs up, and it's getting into a roll for me. Even when I'm missing it in the oil here, it's still rolling for me really nicely. Now, with all these changes, it basically means that there's more intermediate differential than we've seen in a hammer ball in a long time. So it's a big, big core offering a lot of flare and a very small hook phase to make this ball hook down lane. So you're saying to yourself now, well, why did you put a short pin layout on it? Why did you want something that was going to be, controllable and smooth? Why didn't you make this a hook monster? Well, I'm a two-hander. Aw, that was a can opener. I'm a two-hander. I don't need help getting the ball to hook. And there's lots of people out there who don't need the ball to hook. That's why we have things like the pin down, the slower response layouts. And this is one of the reasons why I call it a slow response layout rather than a pin down. You guys have heard me say this many, many times. I put a fast response layout, a slow response layout, never pin up, pin down, because we can achieve the same things in different ways. This way, as a two-hander, if I put the pin down on this, if you think about where my center of grip is, that'd be like basically putting the pin where my thumb would be. It's not how we do it normally. So we put the pin in a place that we could preserve a little bit of the tilt. Being a two-hander, I'm low tilt. Gee whiz. But we still wanted that ball to be smooth in the front and not jump down lane. Yeah, look on my face. All right. If we had gone pin up with this, it would have been just too strong down lane. When it saw the friction down there, with this core revving up and the CFI cover, it was just going to be too fast down lane. It was going to be uncontrollable for me. When we have these big asymmetrical balls, this is exactly what we want them for. We want a controllable layout, something that we know we're going to be able to get to the pocket. For you one-handed bowlers, if you're watching this would be, your pin down, big val. You'll hear people say 35 by 4.5 by 70, things like that, or 50 by 4.5 by 70. What it does is it's just slowing that ball's response down lane so it doesn't jump left. And you can see I'm able to... Oh, boo earns. I'm really able to hit this ball. I don't have to try to lay off my rev rate. I can hit it as much as I want, and it's not going to go funny. We had a ball return there. Sorry, guys. We had to cut the video. And that's what I talked about in the opening. We wanted that. It's the same thing we want. Oh, that's a terrible shot, Rob. What the... So let's talk about Dynamicore a little bit. This ball is dot and Dynamicore. So you're going to get a little bit better hitting power like that one, because that was a terrible shot. Just awful. I'll admit it. We all make bad shots. But we get Dynamicore in the ball. That's why they put it in there. Or CFI covers to get more of a coefficient of restitution. We want more energy going from the ball into the pins and making really bad shots like that one strike. So if you look at our Arsenal chart that we put out before, you'll see on them almost every bowler has a pin down layout on the sheet. And for our two-handers, this is going to be basically our two-handed pin down layout. You can see that I've been able to play in the oil. And I'm showing you guys more strikes this time because I think this is important for people to understand that short pin doesn't necessarily mean that the ball's not going to hook. It just means that the ball's going to hook in a different place on the lane. So this is a short pin more hook, which means, it's using more energy. Rather than going way, way, way far down before it starts to use a little bit of that energy, it's using it in the mid lane. So we're bleeding it off a little bit. Now, after a couple of questionable shots, let's see if I can get one good one in here. It's got to be one good shot in here before I turn it over to the comparison. So let's see what we can find here. Come on, Rob. Get back on. Oh, here we go. That was pretty. And you could see the defined hook phases on that. We were able to see it start to spin up pretty quickly around the arrows there. We saw it hook, and we saw it be very continuous to the pins down lane. It's exactly what we want out of a pin down layout, and that's what we want out of a short pin, more hook layout for two-handers. Something that's very controllable, especially on these medium patterns. You get these balls that are very jumpy, very fast response, and you've got a lot of friction to the right or left of you, depending on which hand you're throwing with. You don't want a ball that's going to see that friction and jump left instantly. That's going to give you a lot of splits. It's going to be difficult for you to control. It's going to be over-under. This has given us a ball that's very controllable, even on a house shot. And this ball is for heavy oil. But this is something that we've been able to control. Yeah, that was me trying to move right again. Something that we've been able to control the pattern with that very defined friction point and still be able to get the ball to the pocket in the right way. We're getting it through the pins. It's not rolling forward on us. A lot of people, especially with low tilt, two-handers included, if you drill that ball too strong, it's also going to roll forward. So instead of continuing to hook, moving left, going through the pins, you'll see it kind of make that move and just kind of start to go forward and bounce off the pins. Causes a lot of deflection. We're going to leave some corner pins. All right, Rob, you threw one good one. Do you got one more in you? Do you got one more? Maybe we can move left a little bit farther. Maybe that'll help. I don't know. I'm pretty far left here. I might not come back on the screen. There we go. Wow. Wow. That was perfect. Think about what you just saw there, how it spun up. It got down lane, and even though it looked like it should have jumped left, especially when we'd moved right and you saw how much it hooked, it waited and waited and then got into the pocket. Here it is again. Left-handed. Oh, that's so pretty. And not just because I'm throwing it. Everybody thinks I'm biased. It's just the way that the ball's going through the pins. You can see it split the 8-9. And that's what we want. We want the ball to hit 5 pins. So here we are with my Rattler. You can see, same thing. That ball's very continuous through the pins. I'm hitting 5 pins here. I'm hitting the 1, 2, the 5, and the 8, and the 9. That way, the ball is knocking down 5 pins. The rest of the pins only have to knock down 5 others. We're trying to make it as easy to strike as possible. And you can see there is a fairly large difference. Even as a quote-unquote short pin ball, you can see how much of a difference there is between the Rattler and the Extreme Envy. We're going to slow it down here so you can see it just a little bit better. So you can see, even though I'm in basically the same place, that ball went out farther. It recovered farther. We're looking. That's a fair amount of difference. I'm thinking anywhere from 3 to 8 boards, maybe more. But we're seeing it hook in a much different place on the lane. So at lane level here, you can see the Rattler. Love that little spinny pin. And we're going to break it down again here, both at real time and slow motion, so that you can see just how much different that Extreme Envy was. And at this level, interestingly, you can actually see how much earlier the Extreme Envy is spinning up compared to the Rattler. Even though it's traveling out farther, it's hooking back more, we're seeing a lot earlier. You can see it's spinning up, it's starting, and then it just kind of lays off there. That's what we want to see out of a ball that we're going to control the pattern with. I was extremely happy with what I saw out of the Extreme Envy here. So if you're looking for a ball that you're going to do pin down, something that's going to be slower response to control the pocket, this one's going to make everyone else be envious. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a show. So until next time, guys, we'll see you laneside.